Welcome back, and today we are going to be taking a look at the R2Y2s as well as the... Okay, average ROB pilot right there. Today we're going to take a look at the battle rating changes as well as the R2Y2s being removed. Now the R2Y2s being removed, first and foremost, it's really not that big of a deal. The R2Y2s at 8.0 with the nerf guns, without the air spawn and just the overall flight performance, it really isn't all that fantastic. Now, personally, I'm the biggest fan of the V2 simply because it looks the best, but when I flew this thing with a talisman, it had an air spawn. It was 7.0 to 7.3, it lost the air spawn, but it was still 7.3, and it was actually pretty flyable because back then the guns were actually good. Nowadays, not so much. The velocity got scammed, the damage isn't what it used to be, and overall the plane is just... it's just kind of mid. It's basically a worse vampire. Now, if you really have to choose one, you can either go for the V1, that has the most low speed thrust, slightly more powerful engines. It's ever so slightly. You probably will never notice any of it. So personally, I would say get the V3 right now. I'm not a big fan of the MiG nose, but you know, it is a decent enough plane compared to the other ones. They're all marginally better, so it's not like you're really missing out that much. And in terms of ROB and overall flight performance, I don't think these things are really worth it. Now, if you want to fill out your ground up B lineup, sure, be my guest. But other than that, I do not think that these planes are worth it, other than, of course, the collective perspective. If you really want these planes, go ahead. But just know if you don't want to play them and you don't care about collecting, you're not particularly missing out. I will leave a video in the future, probably next week, maybe the week after. I'll fly these things again, but you really, trust me, you're not really missing out. And then we have the battle rating changes. Now, some of these are slightly questionable, some of these are pretty okay, and some of them are very much needed. First off, F-16 Barak 2 goes from 13.7 to 13.3, and at the same time we have the Tornado F3 late going from 13.3 to 13.0. Do we need these planes to be moved down? Yes, they kind of struggle. They aren't the best. The F-16 Barak 2, of course, with the derbies, they're not the best radar missiles in the game. They're still Fox 3s, they're still very potent, so I don't really see a reason to move these things down. To combat decompression, we need to move stuff up instead of down. But you know, we've been over this. Let's just take a look at it. We have also the F-16A going down. Now, this is not really a massive issue. It's the... We'll go to the US tree over here. It's the F-16A. It doesn't really have any good ordnance other than or weapons, I should say, other than the AIM-9L, and only having heat seekers is kind of ass for RRB, but we also are looking at an F-16A, and it's going to be able to see Vigans, it's going to be able to see AMXs, and a lot of planes that really should not be facing F-16s. So yes, the kit might be kind of lacking, just like the Nets really, Pythons instead of 9Ls, but these really should not go down at all. Then we have the F-16A IR IAF. And this has been a long time coming because the Faku 90s have been ruining this entire battle rating bracket for weeks, months, I would say even decades, but it's not even in the game that long. It does feel that way, definitely. Faku 90s are some of the best long-range missiles, or probably not even some, it's the best long-range missile in the entire game. They're incredibly fast, they have a lot of goddamn ordnance, and even if you try to multi-pad it, if it blows up anywhere near you, it will take your plane with you. I hate this thing. It should be even higher in my opinion, just because of the missiles, and I know the F-14A is not the best airframe, it doesn't have the best kit other than the Faku 90s, but when you put a missile that strong on a plane, it should elevate the battle rating, and luckily now it's finally happening. People are saying it can't fight Gripens, it can't fight the Eurofighter, and you're right. But the 12.0s also can't really fight the IRAF, because it just kills you across the map. But I digress. Next up is the Mirage 2000 CS5, going from 12.3 to 12.7, and this is kind of questionable, especially with the lack of the 2000 CS4. CS4 is of course the event vehicle. It has a lot less countermeasures, but you still have 34 of them, and half of them are gonna be big countermeasure or large countermeasures. So this is more than sufficient at this kind of a battle rating. And only moving up to CS5, at least for RRB, it doesn't really make that much sense to me. Because these two, I think, are pretty balanced. They might be, you know, at the end of the day, I prefer moving stuff up instead of down. So I'm not really against it. But I'm not really seeing the vision here. But of course, that wouldn't be the first time, because Gaijin likes to be a little bit special sometimes. Then we have a plethora of planes. It's the entire Su-22 and Su-17 family, basically. It's the Su-22 M3, the Su-22 UM3K for Germany, the Su-22 M3 for Italy, the Su-17 M4, the Su-22 M4 WTD61 for Germany, the Su-22 M4 for Germany, the MiG-27K and the MiG-27M, all going down from 11.3 to 11.0. Now, I don't really have an issue with these. These are some of these planes that can be moved down a little bit to see if they can be a little bit, you know, more flyable. They don't pose much of a threat in the down tier anyway, so I don't mind moving these kind of planes down. But still, I think that having more BRs and moving the stuff around it up is a better solution. But, you know, this change is okay. They really don't pose that much of a threat. The MiG-27 especially is kind of funny to use with the GSH-30-6. Of course, it doesn't have a radar, doesn't really have any power in the head-on other than the gun. So, you know, the presence here isn't too wild. And the MiG-27s got nerfed a little bit a while ago together with the MiG-23. So these planes really aren't that, you know, they don't really ruin the matchmaker too much. This is fine. Try it out. If they are too strong, you can always move them back up, is what I would say if Gaijin ever listened to us. Now then we have some questionable ones. The MiG-21 SMT, the MiG-21 MF for Italy, and the MiG-21 MF for Germany, all going down from 10.7 to 10.3. Now before at 10.7, I'd say you have a bit of a toss-up between that one and the MiG-21 BIS. It's very close in performance, but you know, the MF and the SMT have slightly better matchmaker because it is at 11 or 10.7 and it can be down tiered a little bit. And now it's not a question, this is going to be much better than the BIS to fly. Yes, the BIS has better performance, but at 10.3, being able to be down tiered into like 9.3 and just launching R60s at people without flares, it's going to be brain dead in terms of grinding. These should not be moved down. They are strong enough as they are, and the nerf they got a little bit ago really does not warrant a down tier. Now we have some other planes being moved down, the AJ-37. Now if you aren't aware what this one is, it's going to be the attacker version. It's the AJ-37 over here. It's really not that big of a deal. It has a gun port, whoop-de-daisy, you have 2 missiles. I don't have an issue with that one whatsoever. Makes complete sense. That thing is kind of suffering, but at the same time, it's still a Viggen at 10.3. You feel what I'm saying? Then we have the Saab J25 XS moving down yet again. It got moved down from 11.0 to 11.7 or 10.7 last time around. And now we're down to 10.3. Now the Saab J25 XS, the main issue really is of course the lack of firepower. The gun is... It's not great to use considering you only have one barrel. It's like halfway outside of the plane. It's kind of annoying to aim. But you do have 6 AIM-9Js, which are pretty potent at the battle rating. And while not a lot, you still have 12 countermeasures. And they pop single. There's no ILCCM planes you can run into. Su-25. But you know, other than that, the flares are enough. Yes, it's limited. Yes, it's not fantastic. This is in the same boat as the MiG-21 MF. But I can see this thing move down more than I can see the MiG-21 SMT move down. So let's just agree to disagree. I do think that this is more okay, but I'm still not a massive fan of it. Su-17 M2, it's, I mean, Omega lull. But going 2 BR steps in one go, yeah, that's a bit excessive at 10.0. I'm not going to say it's going to ruin the matchmaker, because it's not a great plane. But at 10.0, that might be a bit of a hidden gem. But we'll see how it flies when we get there. Then we have a couple that, well, first of all, told you so. F4C back to 10.0. Last time we moved everything up. Guess what happened? The F4C went from 10.0 to 10.7. And the FHU maintained at 10.0. And I said, there's no way that's going to stick. And now we have the FHU moving up. Well, not this time around, but last time around. And the FOC is going down. Now the FOC is suffering incarnate. So yeah, I'm not really opposed to this, considering the amount of shit we have at 9.7 even. That's probably better than it. I don't think we should move it down anymore as is though. It's fine. Yes, it's a bad plane, but moving it down until it's 9.3 like the MiG-19 is not gonna be the play. But yeah, it's moved down again because it's terrible. That's just how it is. J35D, the fact it's only 0.3 lower than the J35XS is wild to me, considering it has no countermeasures. It has 2 guns and it has 2 less missiles. It's simply just worse. J25D is kind of suffering, mainly because of the speed bleed together with the lack of countermeasures. If you dodge the first one, the second one is 100% going to nail you. Then we have the F105D, kind of in the same boat as the F4C. Both kind of mid. Tempo is, I think, the limit for them because they are just pretty quick. They have afterburners, they have decent excel. And while they are complete boats, the F105D has a shitload of ammo, is decently aerodynamic. It turns okay for like a strike bomber. It's not fantastic by any means, and I don't think moving it down is that big of a deal. But, you know, let's just not push them down any further just because they get bullied by all-aspect missile slingers. Because they are the issue, not the fact that these planes are bad. If these planes don't face missiles that they can't dodge, they are perfectly playable. There are a couple of planes that ruin the entire matchmaker that should be moved up to alleviate all the other stresses. But, you know, I'm not going to go into it yet again. And then for the last few, we have the J35A going down to 9.3. Now, if you don't have this one, that's the premium one that I also don't have. It's, I believe, the rank 6 J35. It's, wait, let me actually check, because I have flown it. I just lost my, I have lost my privileges to fly it. It's the 9.7 one. Can I spectate? Oh, I can't even look at it. Incredible. So is this one. It's 9.7. It has 4 AIM-9Bs. You know, no countermeasures, but the flight performance is pretty okay. It's, well, with the amount of stuff we have at 9.3, I don't think it's that much of an issue. But again, it doesn't need to be moved down. We need some stuff to go up. That's the last time I'm mentioning that. I'm sorry, I'll stop. Then we have the Lancaster, the B-17s. I can't really comment on these, them going down. I don't have an issue with it. I don't think these things ever pose a real threat, and the Israeli one going down is kind of nice, because now you don't have to, well, if you are a bomber player, the grind is going to be a little bit easier, because, well, it's one of the first planes you can unlock. So, you know, it's whatever. I don't have an issue with these. They're not particularly great, especially the B-17Gs. They're just super slow, easy to kill. The G8N1 going up, though, is it really needed? Sure, it's a gunship, but it's also, you know, it's a bomber. Does it... Why does... Whatever. Focusing on the wrong things here. And then lastly, at least for the battle ratings, we have the 190A5U12 and the 190A5. Now, these aren't as good as they once were. The A5 flight models got nerfed a little while ago. I think it's like last year, almost 2 years ago maybe, with the U12 or the U14 introduction. Now, the U14 is the worst of the bunch, and that one is at 14.0. I don't really mind these going down. There's a lot of strong planes at 4.3. We have the Pure Mursky, we have the XP50 at 5.0, we have the J2M2s that now got up-tiered, but, you know, they all infest that battle rating. And I don't really see a massive issue with it. But again, and it's the last time I can say it, because the video is almost over, we need to move stuff up and not down. But, you know, I digress for the 50th, holy shit, we can English today, for the 50th time. Now, there's one thing I do want to mention, other than the GBU-15 pylons being added for the AIM-9s, which is whoopsie, whatever. I want to talk about the R2Y2 real quick. The R2Y2 is, there's a reason you see so little anymore. These things are 8.0 because of legacy stats, which basically means it used to be busted, got the stats up, then everyone stopped playing it, and the stats never dropped for the plane to actually be down tiered. It used to have a 3.5 kilometer airspan, a bit of a forward spawn too, so you could rush into the enemy team and just absolutely lay waste, because it was classified as a bomber. They removed that, also decreasing the effectiveness greatly. And then the second big nerf were the guns. The Type 5 cannons used to go like 980 meters a second, and they would one-shot whatever you would shoot at. Now they go 770 meters a second, the drag got changed so they actually slow down over time, and the fragmentation isn't nearly as good as it once was. So while you can still spray, shoot forever, And if you hit them, they probably are going to be crippled. It's nowhere near as offensive as it used to be. So I would really like to see this plane move down to at least 7.7, but probably 7.3. There's a lot of 7.3s that are better than it, that could be moved up, say the F2H and the SU-11, but the R2Y2 is one of the slowest Aponos in the entire game. It's really not that good. That's why at the start of the video I was talking about the fact you're not really missing out. So I think it's time to move these things down before they get removed, because then really no one will play them out. And when everyone stops playing it, it's going to be stuck in purgatory at 8.0 forever. And it would be a shame, because I like some diversity in my battle ratings to a certain degree. Yes, we should move stuff up instead of down. This is one of those rare cases, just like with the F105D, I guess, or the SU-17s, where we can actually move something down and it probably wouldn't damage anything. There's a few planes like that out there. This is not an issue with decompression, because this thing is so far apart of something like a 262A1 while having decently similar performance. I do think it's much better than the 262, but having this and the 262 have a full BR between them, and then the MiG-19 be the same BR as, like, I don't know, it used to be the F3H, is absolutely insane to me. But you know, I think I'm kind of starting to turn into a broken record. Make sure to tell Gaijin this in the suggestions on the forum post. I'll leave a link in the description. But that's all I have for you today. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one.